I have never really been a fan of roguelikes or roguelites. I don't want to get into that debate because I'm still trying to understand what the difference is. I'm just going to call it a roguelike for now. I've never really understood the appeal. I've seen lots of people, lots of my friends play plenty of them over the years. Enter the Gungeon, Binding of Isaac, Spelunky, I think is the other one. That's really difficult. Last year, I tried one called Vampire Survivors, and I was completely in love and addicted to this game and probably put 50 or 60 hours into it, and that was just the base game. That's not even counting the DLC, which I haven't even touched yet. I will eventually. That game helped me understand a little bit more of the roguelike, where you're doing runs, right? That's kind of the whole idea of the game, is to do runs, unlock different weapons and characters and things to help you progress. I understand that Vampire Survivors is a little bit different than some of these other typical roguelikes. After Vampire Survivors, the next one I tried was Dead Cells, and I just couldn't get into it. I didn't get the appeal. I would get so frustrated because I would get, 15, 20, 25 minutes into a run, and then I would die, and I'd be like, oh, damn. Now I gotta start all the way over. And I understand that you're getting collectibles and items and money and things that you can then at the end of each run after you die, or if you succeed, you can pump some stats up to help you do better in each run. Well, I just really couldn't get into it. I think I put like 4 or 5 hours into Dead Cells. It wasn't connecting with me. So when I had already created the list of the backlog of games I wanted to play in 2024, Hades was on there. A lot of my friends have been telling me that I would really like Hades, so I wanted to give it a shot, but I knew it was a roguelike, so in my head I was a little bit hesitant, but I jumped in, and I think I finally understand roguelikes now. Hades is a roguelike hack and slash developed and published by Super Giant Games. It was released in September of 2020, and it sold over 1 million copies. Hades is such a fun and addicting game, and like I already mentioned, it finally has helped me understand roguelikes and the appeal of them. I get it now. Hades, you play as a guy named Zagreus, where you are the son of Hades, and your whole goal is to escape the underworld. You are trying to get out of there by making your way through different dungeons and then different areas, fighting different monsters and bosses, collecting power-ups and abilities, money and health upgrades, and all sorts of fancy items and things to help you get out, because all of that contributes to your build. Now, the build is kind of the fun thing that changes every single run, but it's also the main appeal, and at least for me, the main appeal of playing these roguelikes, because it's the build that helps you get through the levels, that helps you get through the runs and eventually beat a run. At first, I didn't really understand this, and it makes me want to go back and try Dead Cells again because of this specific thing, and I will. I eventually will go back and play Dead Cells again, maybe even soon. But when I first played Hades, I didn't really understand the builds. I didn't understand all the different items. I was picking up all the different abilities, the hammer upgrades, the palm upgrades, the different god booms that I was getting. And honestly, I had to watch a few videos just to understand it. And that's another tip I would give people. If you don't really understand roguelikes, or at least the specific one you're playing, you don't understand the build, it's okay to go look up videos on how to build your character or what you're even doing, because the game doesn't really explain it. I mean, I'm sure you could figure it out eventually just by reading and understanding and seeing which combos go good together. But after I watched a couple videos, it clicked for me. And that was really one of the funnest parts about Hades, is just experimenting with different builds. You can collect these different keys in each level that you play, or in each run rather. And after you collect a certain amount of keys, you can unlock new weapons that you can use and try out. And when you get these hammer upgrades, it can actually alter the way that the weapon even functions. One of my favorites, and it was actually the one that I was able to beat my first run with, which took me 11 hours, by the way. It took me 11 hours to beat my first run. Now, I don't know if that's normal or not, or if I just suck. But anyway, I really liked the Trident, and you can get the hammer upgrade, where it changes the way that the attack and the weapon even function. and it turned my trident into a bomb where I could just keep spamming my trident, keep throwing it, and it would explode and kill enemies. That was really fun. There's a big shield that you can get. You can get a gun. You got a sword. There's bows and arrows that you can use. There's these 2 fists that you can use. Like, there's tons of different weapons to experiment. And like I said, when you get that hammer upgrade, it completely changes the way that your weapon even functions. So that's always really fun. And that's another thing I didn't really understand when I was doing my build. Not only did I not understand combinations and what the different abilities even were, but I didn't understand what the hammer upgrade even was and how important it is. So if you ever see the hammer upgrade, I don't know why I can't think of it off the top of my head, but you should get that. There's just a lot of strategy and stuff that goes into it. These types of games are kind of hard to just brute force your way through. And honestly, you're just going to have to accept the fact that you're going to die a lot. Dying and retrying is the name of the game. And that's coming from somebody that really likes Souls games. So I just wasn't looking at roguelikes the right way, I don't think, in my opinion. Because once again, I would get really frustrated. I'd get super far into a run and then I would die. And then I would get set all the way back and have to redo the entire thing. But once again, that's kind of the appeal of these games, is it's trying to complete a successful run, which my run, I only did one run. I'll talk about that later. But my one run that I did successfully took me about 30 minutes to clear all the dungeons, to kill all the bosses, and then to fight Hades and beat his second phase, which I got to him twice. The first time I got to Hades, I beat his first phase and was super stoked, but I didn't realize that he had a second phase and he killed me. The appeal of these games is just that, is doing these runs. They're really short, and eventually the game's going to click with you, where you're going to figure it out. Like, there's dodging, you got heavy attacks, normal attacks, you got dash attacks, you have a red chip thing that you can throw, which is its own different ability. But the basic gameplay in and of itself too, minus the roguelike aspect, just the hack and slash, dodging, bullet hell, like, that's super fun too. It's super satisfying destroying enemies, seeing their health bars tick away. You can do massive AoE attacks. You've got like a call that you can call on the gods to do an AoE attack. There's just a ton of different things that you can do in your build that really shakes up the gameplay and keeps it fresh and addicting. And every single run you're doing, you're doing a different build, because it's all random. It's all RNG. But the weapons change that up too. You can do permanent upgrades over the entirety of your playthrough. When you collect this dark matter stuff, you go to your mirror, and then you can permanently upgrade Zagreus. You can get different charms that give you certain stat boosts. Some of them grant you more dashes, some of them grant you more health. The monsters in this are really cool. There's so many in the bestiary that you can go through and look at and just discover. As you continue to play the game, more of them spawn. You get to see tons of different monsters and fight them all and see how they react and attack. The other fun part too is there's a story here, and it's actually pretty good. Like, there's tons of different characters to interact with. There's backstory on Zagreus. You learn about his mom. I'm not going to spoil anything because you can just go play the game and find out for yourself. There's stuff with Hades. There's lots of other characters that Zagreus interacts with. And you can collect these nectar things that you can give to characters that will give you like an amulet or I can't remember what it's called, like a charm of some sort that you can put on, and it gives you a stat buff. So that's fun. You get to shake up the gameplay there too as well. Like, there's just so much here for you to do. And then on top of that is you can collect these gemstone things that you can give to this builder guy, and then you can become an interior designer. Like, you're going from a roguelike hack and slash, killing monsters, destroying things. It's super heavy metal. You've got a great story, great characters. The voice acting's phenomenal. And then you can do interior design where you're, oh, I want flowers there. Bam, I got flowers here. You're putting drapes or rugs, or you're fixing things that your dog Cerberus destroyed, which you can pet, by the way. So that makes this game S tier already. The music is so good. It goes from heavy metal to these like ambient Greek-like goddess tunes, and I don't know, it's so good. The music is really, really good. The voice acting is phenomenal. you listen to some of these characters talk and they demand your attention. It's very powerful. A lot of the writing is very funny and charming, and you'll talk to a god and realize, wow, these gods are still super, super petty, which is fun and fitting to, if you know a lot of Greek mythology, to the lore. It's fitting to that mythology. So it's really fun. This is kind of like a love letter to that, but it's also a super fun roguelite, and if you are having a hard time getting into them, this could be a good first roguelite that you play, because I was one of those people having a hard time getting into them. I played this game, I fell in love with it. I'm continuing to play this game, even though I've only done one run now. That's just scratching the surface of the game. After you beat your first run, like, the game's not over. You go back, you learn more about the story, you go back, and then you have to continue to try and escape and complete more runs. But then the game opens up even more. You can upgrade your weapons and make your weapons stronger and buff stats with them. You can customize how you want your run to go as far as the difficulty goes. There's so many different sliders and things that you can do that as you up the heat, it's called your heat gauge, as you up your heat, you can unlock other items in the world by defeating bosses, and you get tons of different things to do. Like, this game has hours and hours and hours, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 hours of content. Probably around 50 hours, if not more, for you to mess with. And if you're trying to unlock everything, like, good luck. It's going to be a hard battle, but it's fun. Like, the game's so addicting. It's one of those games that you're like, oh, I only got an hour. Well, I'm going to jump in and see how many runs I can fit in an hour. But it's just a great video game. Like, I, once again, understand the appeal of roguelites now, and I'm super excited to try more out. I do like the idea of keeping your progression. That's why I don't know if I would like a true roguelike, because there is no progression. You have to think of roguelikes more like zombies, like Call of Duty zombies, where nothing carries over. Like, and I'm talking about classic zombies, not Black Ops 6 zombies, because you do have stuff that carries over. But classic zombies, nothing carries over. You just see how far you can survive. Whereas I think roguelites are, you keep progression throughout each run. So I'm more leaning towards playing those types of games. But once again, Hades is phenomenal. It's fantastic. Every aspect of this game is great. It's really big. It's a lot bigger than you think. It's not just a quick, it takes me 30 minutes to beat this game and I'm done. No, it took me 11 hours to beat my first run. Once again, I probably just suck. But regardless, that's just scratching the surface of the game. You have to continue to beat runs, and if you want to roll credits, I think the minimum is 10 runs is what it takes to beat the game, which if you can do one run, you can then do 10. It just takes time, but once again, messing with the builds and trying different weapons, like the customization and all the different things that you can mess around with, that to me is the appeal of Hades. Doing different builds, that's really fun. I really like that. So yeah, this game is phenomenal. If you haven't played Hades, you should check it out. If you have played Hades, let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. Let me know what your favorite weapons and combos and builds were to use. Let me know what other roguelites I should check out. And anyways, thank you for watching. And as always, keep it rad.